Okay, so under sources, you're basically going to choose whatever device you have. So if you have like a DV thing set up, or you have a all-in-wonder card or an Osprey, you pick it here. If you want to do screen capture, you can do that also. If you have a file you want to play instead of like a video feed coming in, if you just want to play like a file you already have, you check both device and file, and then that'll give you the option to pick like all the different WMVs you have, or whatever you want to do. Audio is the same thing. You can pick whatever audio card you have, whatever devices you have installed, or if you just want to use a file, you can do that too. Script is the most important. This is where all the captioning information comes in. So you make sure this is set to script panel and that the box is checked, and that way all the captioning information gets plugged into the script panel. Output. If you want to save it, check archive to file, go and browse to wherever you want to save it. Pulling and pushing. This the person basically has to already take care of with their their webcast service, whatever the provider is. There's two different cases. One is a pull. This is if you've already given your webcasting service all of your IP information and all that stuff, so that on their servers they know to pull the video feed from you. And you basically assign a port that you're going to keep open in your computer for them to come in. So if you select this, when it's time to actually broadcast it, the server will pull the information from you. The other option is to push. A push is the opposite. It's basically instead of you giving your server, or not your server, you giving your provider all the information, the provider will give you all the information, and you plug in their server name, you plug in the publishing point, and when it's time to actually do the broadcast, you push it over to them. Push is actually the most common one. Compression, you know this already. Video size, we know that. The rest of the stuff you don't really need to touch. This is basic Windows Media Encoder. For layout, you have two choices. If you just want the video to play inside a Windows Media Player window, something like this, where it just plays in here, that's fine. You pick Windows Media Player here. If you want it to be an embedded HTML, that looks something like this, where you have the video playing and then you have, maybe like a PowerPoint slide or something else on the right, you pick that. So embedded HTML or Windows Media Player. It's just the layout of what your broadcast is going to be. Captioning. This is just, you pick what it looks like. This stuff you pretty much already know already is just how it's going to look. Live captioning source, you can choose to be a client. That's if you're going to push this information to a bridge. A bridge is another software that comes along with the CPC800. Pretty much no one ever uses it. So almost all the cases you deal with are going to be people choosing server. If you do server, there's nothing you have to do. The IP address is just going to be the IP address of the computer they're running it on. RS-232. This is if you are going to be taking captioning information from something like a mag hubcap. It's going to have to be hooked up to the computer through a serial port, and then you basically choose what COM that's on. The rest of the stuff I would leave, and then you do open RS-232. Basically, the scenario for this is that you have a captioned video being broadcast already, so like for television. And what you do is you take a composite video signal, and that plugs into the mag hubcap, and that mag hubcap is then hooked up to this computer. And the idea is that as that video is going through, if you are in RS-232 mode, all the captions on that composite video signal are going to be stripped off and added into this program. So it's sort of like if people are doing concurrent broadcast with captions for a live broadcast with captions for TV, and they also are doing a live webcast with captions. That's pretty much it. It's either going to be server, so someone just wants to do a regular webcast with captions, they pick server. RS-232 if they're doing a live broadcast for television along with a live webcast with captions. Assets. This is if they're doing a PowerPoint presentation or they want to have slides. If you do a layout like embedded HTML, you can have this thing here be a slide from a PowerPoint presentation. If you go to Assets, then you come into Browse and choose a PowerPoint presentation. Let me see if I have any here. Mm, we have one somewhere. Hold on. Projects, conventions. The act. Hold on. I definitely have one somewhere. Let me check my folder. Yeah, okay. So if you pick a PowerPoint presentation, what it'll do is it'll call PowerPoint, and it'll take that PowerPoint presentation, it's doing it now, and it's going to convert every single slide into JPG images. So here, now you have every single slide turned into a JPEG, and they're all listed here. So if you're doing assets, this is sort of how it works. If you're not, you're just doing the standard Windows Media Player, you click that. This is when you have to finally upload all that stuff. This stuff is pretty much only going to apply if you're doing something like this, where you have your own web page and you have the video on one side and the PowerPoint presentation on the other. It'll generate an ASX file. You can click Generate Files, and basically you can choose wherever you want all these files to go. You pick any folder. When you click Generate Files, it'll make everything. It'll make the HTML. It'll basically make whatever page you need to have. Then you plug in your FTP information here, and you do upload files, and it'll basically open like a little FTP client that we made. Here. This is just a folder where all my stuff was kept. And it's the textbook thing. You just pick whatever you want to do, like wherever folder you want it to go, and you hit upload, and it'll upload all that stuff. Advanced. This is for multiple encoders, and this is pretty much just made for one client that wanted to have multiple encoders, so we implemented it in the program. But you may or may not have to deal with this. This is just multiple instances of the same encoder if you're doing multiple streams, I guess. Slide recurrence. This is for whatever reason, when you're sending a slide out, sometimes it won't actually catch it because of like hiccups in the internet. So what you can do is you can repeat the same slide like 4 times, and the delay will be like a certain amount of milliseconds. It's basically, instead of just sending out the information for one slide, you send out like 4 on a repeater, and you basically hope that like one gets through. So that is basically how all this stuff works here as far as setting something up goes. Then from here, it's the standard thing. You go open file, and you bring in a text transcript if you have one. If you don't, then you have to have your captioner dial in, or not dial in, but connect through an IP address, your IP address, basically. Okay, we're just gonna set this up again real quick. I'm just gonna do screen capture because I'm lazy. Output, compression, blah blah blah, layout, Windows Media, captioning, server, assets, nothing. Okay, we're ready. We'll start broadcast. So the video is rolling. Basically, the idea is your captioner is going to be running this program here called message entry. I'll close it again and open it so you can see. So message entry is a pretty basic program. There's not a whole lot to it. They type in a username and they type in the IP address. So you would give them your IP address and they would click connect, and now they're in. Whatever they type at this point is sent to you pretty much immediately, and you can see how it shows up on your end. Every time a full line is set, 32 characters, it'll keep track of it basically. And the idea is that as long as they're typing, whenever they hit space, that little group goes out. So, just to show how this works in Windows Media Player, when you have Windows Media Player open, you're going to go File, Open URL, and normally you would type in like a website here, but since we're just doing this all locally, it's http://127.0.0.1 8080. 8080 was the port that we selected. This is just the local IP address to talk to yourself. And then you hit OK. Connecting, buffering. So basically what we're going to see here, is we're going to see the video that we are broadcasting, and I'm going to type stuff here, and it should show up over there. This window's kind of small, so kind of have to make do with what can be captured here. Although, let me... Okay. So if I start to type in message entry, the captions will eventually appear in the Windows Media Player video window. Hopefully the delay won't be too long. The normal length of time for a delay is about 10 to 20 seconds. So looks like we can see it now, so it's all good. That is basically how it all works. There's a few other scenarios like the PowerPoint stuff or the presentation. The person has to have their own website for that, and they have to upload all those files to their website. Um, I may or may not do a video about that now, because that's sort of like a special case. Most people don't even do that.